pasture, fodder crops, and concentrates. Pasture, this is a piece of land that is set aside for growing crops for feeding animals. And this is where animals feed directly from the field. And then looking at fodder crops, these are crops that have been grown purposely to be fed to the animals, but unlike pasture, they are cut and taken to where the animal is. And looking at concentrates, these are commercial feeds. They are manufactured in factories. Now let's move down and look at pasture. Pasture can be classified into two. It can be classified into grasses. It can be classified again into legumes. Grasses, we have example Kikuyu grass, we have star grass, we have savanna grass, and many others. Talking about legumes, we have desmodium, we have clovers, we have glycine, among others. Then looking at now, secondly, we talked about fodder crops, that they are cut and taken to where the animal is. The animal doesn't feed on them directly. And so we have napier grass, maize plants, sunflower, and many others. Fodder crops can be preserved as silage or hay. What do we mean by silage? It means that they are cut and kept when they are in their green form, so fresh, the way they are. You can dig a hole underground and then have the animal feeds there, cover them to feed the animals during times of scarcity or even during dry seasons. And then hay, it is where they are taken, the crops are cut from the shamba and then they are dried and fed to the animals much later. And they are normally preserved in forms of bales. And then we have concentrates, which we have said they are commercial, they are manufactured in factories. Examples are chicken mash, dairy meal, and bone meal. And then grasses supply the animal with vitamins. Legumes supply the animals with proteins. We have some types of grasses again that supply the animal with carbohydrates. Even other foods like wheat bran, they supply the animal with carbohydrates because an animal also needs to feed on a balanced diet to be healthy. Let's move down now and look at methods of grazing. What do we mean by methods of grazing? How do we graze our animals? They are classified into three. One, we have rotational grazing. Secondly, we have zero grazing. Thirdly, we have herding. Under rotational grazing, we have now strip grazing, paddocking, and tethering. Rotational comes from the word rotate, where we move our animal from one place to another. And talking about now strip grazing, this is where you on your large piece of land, you divide it into strips, and you can use a fence. You can use timber and make a fence whereby you restrain your animal from moving from one point to another. And then once it has fed on from one strip, the grass or the food that is there is finished. Then it moves to another strip. Talking about paddocking, it is more or less of strip grazing, but now these are small paddocks. They are now divided using a permanent fence. Under strip, we can use a temporary fence, but under paddocking, we use a permanent fence. And now this is where you divide your piece of land into small paddocks, have your animal feed from one paddock, maybe for 3 days, maybe for 1 week, and then move to another paddock. Mark in each paddock, there must be a trough of water. Tethering is whereby you get a strip of rope on the head of the animal, and then you fasten the rope into a piece of tree, or you can peg it on the ground, and the animal keeps eating from that one same place until it exhausts the grass or whatever food that is there. Then it is moved to another place. Now let's move down and look at zero grazing. Zero grazing is whereby an animal is kept indoors. A farmer gets to set apart a shelter where he keeps an animal, and all the food that this animal has to feed on is brought to that place. So everything, whether it is water, it is in that place. Whether it is minerals, in that place. Whether it is medicine, in that one place. Because the animal can't move out. Whether it is the animal waste, it is collected from that place. And mostly, farmers who practice zero grazing do so because they do not have a big, large piece of land. Lastly, we want to look at herding. Herding is whereby a farmer has a large herd of animals and has them grazing from the field at the same time. For example, if you have looked around in the streets of Nairobi, you have seen Maasais moving with their goats, with their cow, with their sheep. That is an example of herding, whereby the animals feed together from the field. From the animal can move from one point to the other, but the farmer is the one who is watching over them, and the farmer can acquire a shepherd dog which can help him to provide security. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed.